if I'm commissioner of the NBA, you just slapped me in the face and told me that it didn't matter what we did. You don't take us seriously. It's time to come down with the hammer. Half a season is what I'd like to see. Let them pay for it.
All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Meinhardt, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz.
Hello and good evening, and welcome to this My Miami Heat stole Game 1 on the road in the Garden episode of All About the Balls podcast. I'm your host, Mark Davis, always live from the Sack House, joined by the two greatest co-hosts you could ask for, Chris Meinhardt, Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Boys, you can hear it in my voice. I'm excited. My boys are up 1-0, stole a home game, which was the goal. Chris, you chose Boston in 6 games. Sorry, I don't know if you had that confidence still. You did. We picked it Monday. How are you doing since we last spoke, my friend?
I'm doing great. I mean, I'm hyped after that Lakers-Nuggets game 2. The end of that game was amazing. We'll talk about that later. We'll also dig into the Heat versus Celtics game 1, but I still have the confidence that the Celtics are going to pull it out in game 6.
Yeah, good to hear you have that confidence still. Hopefully you're wrong. And Doc, you were on that same limb. Oh, I guess it was more of a tree branch because we're the underdogs. As you know, you chose the same team Chris did, Boston. I believe in 6 as well. Doc, just want to remind you as well, you are 12th in the redraft league for fantasy football. Always like to let you know that so you can keep preparing. How have you been since we last spoke, my friend?
Well, I mean, since the rigged drafts orders came out, I mean, I've developed a bit of a drinking habit, so I'm dealing with that. But otherwise, no. I mean, otherwise, all good.
I do believe that you have a new drinking habit every single episode that we like to record. So glad this year or this time it could be me and Chris and the league kind of fucking you over. Once again, sorry I got outnumbered on that one in that vote. But boys, this is it. This is going to be hopefully a great episode. The little rundown, a little preview. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL headlines of the few that we have that have come out the last couple days. Also, we're going to do let's do a way too early mock draft of our redraft league, which is our main league, like we say. Doc, that's a term we use since you're new. Also, we're going to cover a little Ja Morant since we missed it on Monday. That's my fault, boys. I'll take that one on the chin.
Yeah, you're fucking right. That's your fault.
Pow.
Yeah, my fault. And we'll also, like Chris said, talk about the Miami-Boston series and talk about the Nuggets-Lakers series, who just wrapped up their second game out in Denver. But boys, like I said, to start off, we're going to talk NFL, and what seems to be the biggest headline going around the NFL world is Davante Adams doing something very uncharacteristic of himself. Back in Green Bay, he didn't really talk to the media and call out players and call out owner or management, but he did say he does not see eye to eye with the Las Vegas Raiders offensive game plan. I feel that's more of a shot at Josh McDaniels right now, and them getting rid of Derek Carr, bringing in Jimmy G. Chris, I know you've been saying it to me and Luke in our chat. Is this it? Is this the last year for Davante Adams out there in Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, once I saw Derek Carr leave, I hit you and Luke up, and I was like, Adams is going to leave before his contract's up. The only reason he went to the Raiders is because his Fresno teammate, Derek Carr, now he's gone. It's only a matter of time until Adams is gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how confident I am as you are at that. I'm more leaning 60% he's gone, 40% he's staying. And Doc, are you okay, maybe like fine with the way he addressed it? Instead of saying we aren't, maybe at that level we want to be offensively, he kind of seemed more selfish, maybe in the media's eyes saying I am not okay with it. Are you fine with the way he addressed it and just came out of nowhere with it?
Absolutely. The guy's proven that he can ball out. Come out and call out the bullshit. You had a franchise quarterback that wasn't working out in Derek Carr. You had an opportunity to make a splash in the draft, to make a true change for the franchise for the future. And what did you? You went and picked up Jimmy Garoppolo. You went and picked up fucking Derek Carr 1.5. I'm not even going to say 2.0 because it's not even the same level as Derek Carr. You picked up a fucking Derek Carr 1.5. I have no animosity for Davante Adams to come out and call that out, because hopefully this puts a boot in Las Vegas ass, puts a boot at the Raiders ass, lets them know, hey, it's time to come out here, it's time to play, develop a game plan that we can win with. The play call's been shit. The execution's been shit. Adams been about the only guy in that team that's been able to perform. The rest of the offense production has been down from recent years. So 100% I'm on board. I love it. I love D. Adams. Let's go, baby. And balled out in fantasy for me last year. It's my dog.
Minus, like you said, the whole offense has struggled besides Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams. But, I mean, I'm not 100% fine with it. I understand, like, you know, you are the best player on the team, you know, and that's maybe why I think he should be kind of more humble with it, say the team, so it doesn't look as bad for future teams that might want to grab him. And speaking of a boot in their ass, Chris.
But it's not about it being selfish or me or I or anything else. It's about calling out the bullshit and getting the team on track. It's about trying to pump the guys up. This is a guy that knows how to handle the locker room, knows how to take control. This is a guy that's going to come out here and say, hey, look, what we're doing right now isn't working. It didn't work last year. It ain't going to work this year. I can tell you that right now. And it's time to start making changes. And hopefully this is what's going to be to get them on track.
But yeah, Doc, does Derek Carr pick up porn stars? Does Derek Carr date porn stars? No, but Jimmy G does.
You got a valid point there. But is that what the NFL is about? Sure. That's what the NFL. That's what playing professional football is about. But I don't know. I was never happy with that Jimmy G pickup. I won't be happy with it. I don't give a shit if the Raiders win a Super Bowl. It's still going to be a bad move in my opinion, because when you go back to the 49ers and the offense and the team that they had, there was not a Jimmy G fucking offense. That was a Deebo Samuel. That was a running back offense. It was a defense. That was not Jimmy G. This was not the guy to bring in here when you are refusing to do a full rebuild, break down and rebuild into a team. This was the probably the worst quarterback move that you could have made. It was this or Jameis Winston. And I would have taken Jameis.
And Jimmy G definitely cost that Super Bowl. I mean, they were up 11 going into the fourth quarter, and he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders. He overthrew Emmanuel Sanders with 2:34 left. That would have taken the lead, or a minute 34 in the game. Not saying they would have won the game because, you know, Mahomes can still drive the ball, but still would have put that in the position to have the lead, have the defense that they had stopped them, even though the Chiefs were hot. Yeah. And Chris, speaking of that boot in the ass that Doc said, is this once again the Las Vegas Raiders, who used to be known as the Oakland Raiders? Is this them once again thinking they're rebuilding, retooling? Is this another shit show organization move that they're just going to keep doing?
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders have been throwing themselves in the blender the past, fucking 4 or 5 years?
They're like Indy. They love staying mediocre.
More like 2 decades. They've had a couple seasons in that 2 decades, but it's been like 2 decades of just misery from the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to get their shit together, and hopefully they can get something going.
And Doc, speaking of getting going, let's say they can't get going. Let's say by the trade deadline, Davante Adams is still frustrated, and you can see it on the field. You can hear it in the media. Is he dealt? And if so, what team would you be like, or what team do you think is going to jump at him? Obviously, you have these teams like the Bills and all that, but what team do you think would fit for Davante Adams to put them over that hump and make that deep playoff run?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. If the Bears are looking good, the Bears have the draft capital to not sell the house, but still be able to give up some capital to get him. I like what the Bears have done so far with the wide receiver core, so I think that we're looking sharp, and I think Davante Adams might be what takes us over the top. As far as is he dealt, it would be stupid not to sell him before the contract's up. And he's not coming back. I'll tell you right now, hand to God, he's not coming back to Las Vegas. Like Chris said, he only came back to team back up with Derek Carr, and after all the shit show with Derek Carr, Davante Adams kind of felt like a slap in the face for that, some misleading there. I think that, you've got to sell him before the deadline. Get what you can for him because he ain't coming back. But if I'm a betting man, the Raiders are going to stay shitty and they're not going to make the move. But they'll probably end up selling him for like a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they gave up I think they got just one first-rounder for him, and I think a second as well. So, I mean, you should at least get something back, like some second rounders for Davante Adams. He's still got, I think,
he is still a first round.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I think he has 3 to 4 years left still, like a really productive ball. He doesn't really take many hits. It seems like he's been very healthy his career, and I just think that a team like Chicago, I don't think they deal him in the AFC just because they want to keep him out of that conference. A team like Chicago, yeah, why not? maybe like a team like Minnesota who needs still receivers, like teams like maybe the 49ers that will pounce on them, things like that. Like there's going to be those teams that are in win mode now. And I mean, I think it would be a good move for them to do, or a team to do.
And he's a guy that is going to help you win now. And that's what's going to make his stock so high. It's 3-4 years left to play is still great, but the reality is you've got him for the rest of his contract. It's going to be who's ready to win now and who's willing to pay the highest price.
Yeah, and I agree. And Chris, I know that you addressed this with me, and I mean, I personally don't give two shits about this next topic just because I can't stand the fucking man. I think he was a talented receiver when he was in the NFL. Obviously, he's diva attitude and money, and maybe Burfict from the Bengals knocked him out too many times, maybe gave him too many concussions. Antonio Brown, I guess, apparently told someone he's going to play for the Albany Empire and the Arena Football League, a team that he owns but said he doesn't own. So kind of confused on what mindset is now. Are you excited for this? Is it going to make you watch the AFL?
Does Albany know that he's playing for them?
Well, he's the owner, so I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, sovereign citizen Antonio Brown, I mean, he definitely had one of the chances to be the best wide receiver in NFL history. He did some stupid stuff, still doing some stupid stuff, but I think it'd be interesting to see him back in some pads playing as wide receiver, so I'm excited for it.
Would you watch the AFL if he plays?
I'd probably only watch the game he plays.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably catch his highlights on Twitter whenever I'm bored at night, about to hit the bed. Doc, I mean, I don't give a shit. I mean, do you honestly care about Antonio Brown in the AFL?
No, I think the guy is a mental case. I think that there's some deeper issues at the root, and I think that he's got to get some help before, anything is relevant with him again. As far as what I watch, yeah, probably not. Probably not. I mean, the defense is probably the next worst thing to the Charmin Basketball Association. If I wanted to fucking watch a football game with NBA style scoring, I would just watch the NBA, and I hate that shit. So,
and let's just move on to Tony Brown. But speaking of Tony Brown, he used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Chris brought up a good point. I mean, we know Kenny Pickett is the quarterback of the future there. He's a starting quarterback. Once again, they signed Mason Rudolph to a 1-year extension, and they they extended Mitchell Trubisky for another 2 years. So it's kind of more of a battle for backup. Doc, I mean, you had Mitchell Trubisky on the Bears. We've talked many times that Matt Nagy didn't really develop him. He had some talent. I mean, I wasn't a fan of. He was the first QB drafted in that class with Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes there. You think
Anthony
that it's Mitchell Trubisky?
Richardson.
You think Trubisky's going to be that backup QB?
Yeah, 100%. I was not a fan of Mason Rudolph and what he did in his time in Pittsburgh starting or playing. I think you've got to go with the experience over everything else. I think Mitch still has a lot that he can prove. I think that he's still a pretty decent quarterback. I think that Matt Nagy, kept the training wheels on too long. I think that there's a lot of potential to be had there. I'm still going to go. I'm going to go on the limb here. And I'm going to say the ceiling is still pretty high for Trubisky. I think Kenny Pickett, like you said, is the future of Pittsburgh. But I think that old Mitch can get him around for the money.
I mean, and you never know. Like Geno, it took Geno a little while from the New York Jets days. He I think got drafted in 2013, and he finally got that true chance.
It took him 9 years, dude.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he was a backup like Mitch. Maybe Mitch will have that same route. We never know. I think his time as a starter,
Mitch
like he might be like Chase
weapons.
Daniels. He comes in. I mean, he's athletic enough to play the game. Don't get me wrong. He can definitely run. He's got. He
just need weapons in an offensive line.
Yeah, and Chris, do you think this is good for the Steelers, bringing both veteran QBs, let them battle for backup in the long run? Who do you think is going to be the backup for behind Kenny?
Veteran's a pretty loose term for Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I agree with Doc there. I mean, I think this is just for cap space. I think this is a move just so his cap isn't as big for next year. But I don't think Mason Rudolph's going to be the backup. He'll probably be slinging the ball in the XFL.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Just because they gave him a longer extension, so that it's the more the money there. So that just shows that they're more invested in Trubisky.
Yeah, and that helmet to the head from Myles Garrett really took a lot of talent out of that dome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. That's what he's most known for, and that's what he's like.
That's all he's known for. Yeah. There's nothing else. When you say Mason Rudolph, nobody pictures a touchdown. Nobody pictures a great play. Nobody pictures nothing. Everybody pictures the fucking helmet coming right at the dome, a full hard swing from Myles Garrett. That's all everybody sees because that's all he's known for because he's dog shit.
And to be honest, that was probably one of the best moments on Thursday Night Football. I definitely loved that.
Solid.
Oh, yeah. Loved it. And moving on, something that I love it. It's not just because I watched the show, but Pat McAfee and his boys are going to be now going to ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Plus, in the YouTube channel for ESPN, and from noon to 2 during the fall, which is now their new deal. Honestly, to me, the reason why this is big is because it's kind of getting what is the talk sports, the debating, talking negative about players, attacking them, and moving that aside a little bit and bring in more of a positive outlook on a show like Pat McAfee. Yes, they have a little bit more of a filter, more of a loose cannon when it comes to their language. He did say they won't say the word fuck nearly as much, so it's still going to slip from time to time.
Fuck that.
Michael Jordan. Well, he thanked Michael Jordan for The Last Dance because MJ was dropping fuck a lot. They dropped fuck a lot on the simulcast that they do on ESPN2 and when they covered the college football game, playoff games on the sideline. So they've definitely dropped it on ESPN already. I do think that this is great for it because it's a different type of show. It's definitely characters that are hilarious. They're out there. I think it's going to push the older generation aside, let the younger generation push that envelope. He obviously came on the College Game Day crew. It definitely brought a lot more light to the show. I was more excited watching it because he was there. Chris, you think this is big for the younger generation?
Yeah, no, this is huge for Pat and his crew, and this is definitely big for like us millennials. Like, we're getting the suits and ties off the screen, and we're getting Pat Daddy right there in front of us just bullshitting for an hour. And his games when he's on the sideline are probably the most entertaining games that I've ever watched.
Not just the games, the segments he has, like literally he wears a black tank top. He wore a black tank top literally underneath a sports blazer at College Game Day.
Wore a suit on College Game Day.
Well, that's because he's done it in certain moments because it was his first show. He had to look nice in some areas. He knows he had to have style. He doesn't normally own that stuff, and I like it. I mean, I definitely think it's great for guys like us that are doing a podcast, other shows that are trying to, get a foot in the door, and it just shows that you don't have to be that nice, clean suit guy. I mean, they don't ever have a game plan. If you watch the Twitter segment they did where they were kind of bullshitting that, hey, they're doing their tie and tie and suits now. They're no more talking about gambling. But Doc, I think this is big for guys like us too. You think that podcast and future shows, it's going to kind of be more of an enlightening show more than a, A, B, C, D block type of show?
Hey, it's got to be enlightening. It's got to be positive. Okay, it's all about participation trophies right now in today's day and age. So everybody is an MVP. I think what we need to do going forward in all of our professional sports is we need to take away the MVP. We need to just designate the one person that's not an MVP. Really chastise that one person to hopefully make them better, because everybody else, as long as you play, you're an MVP.
I think the difference between Pac though being he's they are really positive, but they still call players out. They hold them accountable.
I don't mean this as anything against Pat specifically. No, I just in general I'm just saying, and that's just it's more going off of what you said about this is the new whatever, this is what we're doing, blah blah blah, the new generation, and it's the new generation is soft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I'm excited to see how ESPN is going to handle this, how they're going to let it, because like you said, he still has full control. He said it's his show, and he has demands, and ESPN gave it to him, and I mean he's going to bring a lot of money, so that's why. But moving on to our way early mock draft for the redraft league that we have all about the balls fantasy league for our ESPN league. Chris is going to pull up it on Sleeper. This is where we're going to do it at, just because it's easier. You can actually pick your spot. So you pull up right now. Chris is 4, I'm 9, and Doc is 12. And we're going to do mocks down the line, not all the time, but occasionally. And we'll split up our draft order. We'll maybe move around kind of so that you fans can see what we think should happen. We're also going to break down the picks. So you have your Chris McCaffreys, your Jeffersons, your Jamar Chase, JT, Eckler, Cooper Kupp is your top 6. So in my opinion at least, is that running backs are really important in redraft league. I feel like receivers you can get way down the line. But if you're towards the end of the draft like me and Doc, running back, receiver, running back, you kind of got to know your order. Doc, unfortunately, has been in the league, so he doesn't have a history of how we all draft. And I mean, he can see the draft history, but it's different between reading it and actually being, experienced with it. Doc, I know you said last year running backs, you kind of found gems later in the draft. Kenneth Walker was later in the draft. Nick Chubb was in the second, third round, later second, early third. You think this year it kind of goes back to the, running backs are more important, or you can kind of find some like late steals with running backs?
I mean, there's always the opportunity for late steals, but I think the running back, as far as when you're going to take a guy or whatever, I think a lot of it is dependent on the style of running back. I mean, if you're talking like a Christian McCaffrey that's a dual threat, a Saquon Barkley, something like that, that's a guy you got to lock down. I mean, as long as the injuries are looking better and longevity, but this is a redraft league, so you just need to play this year. But it just depends on what you're going to get out of them. Every player
and I
is
agree,
different.
Chris. I know we've had in our league, I always emphasize quarterbacks. You can get them. I got lucky because I took Josh Allen going into the fourth, fifth round, and I paired him with Gabe Davis. But Josh Allen worked for me. But that's where I feel like you can get those top 3 or 4 QBs in the fourth, fifth round. And if you don't have to reach first, second round. If you can't get him in the fourth or fifth, then move on. You can find like a Derek Carr. I mean, there's a year I had Matt Ryan as number 1 quarterback, and I got him like with my 12th pick. So definitely, you think quarterbacks? Where would you risk quarterbacks at? In a redraft league.
I'm taking Matt Ryan this year.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the days of reaching for Lamar and Patty in like the second, third rounds over. They're not going to win you the championship. You're going to have to wait till that 5th, 6th round and pick up that middle mediocre quarterback and focus on your key playmakers.
Yeah, and with that being said, we're going to start this mock draft. We're going to read it off to you guys that are on Spotify and Apple just because you kind of can't see what we see and what the YouTube viewers are looking at. So we're going to start right now. It's going to be computer-based. So like I said, we got Chris McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler off the board. That's the top 3. Now Chris is up. So once again, like I said, there's that 2 running backs, boys, that you have that receiver that snuck into the top 3. Doc, are you surprised that Chase is number 2 over Jefferson?
I'd say that I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, I think Jefferson is definitely the better play. I mean, having a subpar quarterback to what I think Kirk Cousins is going to be subpar to Joe Burrow. So the fact that Jefferson can put up the better numbers, I think is definitely surprising.
Chris is definitely taking this whole minute to make a pick in fantasy in a mock draft, I guess.
Sorry,
he went Justin Jefferson. He's an LSU boy, so it's a little biased. You got JT that went 5. That's interesting because he had a kind of an off year. He had some injuries.
Kelsey
Chris, you think
6.
JT is going to be back this year?
JT might be back. I don't think he's going to be up there with the top 3 quarterback or top 3 running backs, but he'll be up there. At least top 10.
Like Doc said, he was kind of surprised. Travis Kelce went 6. Honestly, in a redraft league, tight ends are very important. If you can get that top 2, top 3 tight ends, I believe that can actually win you a league. Travis Kelce, if he's
Zach
there at 12,
Ertz definitely did win me a league one year.
I know if Doc's got him at 12, he might go for him. I'm actually on the board. I thought I'm used to the Dynasty League. So Cooper Kupp went 7 and Derrick Henry went 8. So I'm on the board here. You got
18 seconds.
Do I go running back? Do I go receiver? I think with a lot of these guys, I could definitely go. I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. Actually,
I am 100% with the first pick for 2 girls, 1 cup in the 2023 redraft league. 2 girls, 1 cup selects Davante Adams, wide receiver for Las Vegas. As much shit as I talked about Jimmy G, I think Davante Adams is the play, and I'm going to back that up, and I'm going to go next. To
be honest, boys, I don't think that sorry to cut you off, Doc. I don't see the rookies on here, even though it says rookies are supposed to be in the draft. Because Bijan's not up there, and neither any of the rookie.
Well, because Bijan is higher rated in the dynasty because of longevity.
No, I mean, if you click on the running backs, you definitely don't see him at all. You don't see any of the receivers as well. You don't see any of the quarterbacks. Even though it says available players is all, I'm not sure where he's at.
Why can I not fucking...
I mean, I don't know if you guys see it, but The rookies aren't in here. Oh no, I see AR. Where's Bijan? Oh, Bijan. Wow. I don't think Sleepers got the same rankings as ESPN. I mean, they have Bijan in the hundreds. So I don't. If you listeners are out there listening, you aren't going to get that. So after Tyreek Hill that I chose, it went Stephon Diggs. It went CeeDee Lamb. Doc chose Adams, paired him with Saquon Barkley. Josh Allen, once again, that's what I'm saying. That reach right there, it's a bot, so it might not be like that for your leagues, but you never know. Players might do that still. Nick Chubb, the guy I had last year, went 10. I'm on the clock.
I was so torn between Chubb and Barkley.
I am going to have to draft it because I want to draft realistically. I don't think Bijan, honestly, is going to be the 107th ranked player in the ESPN league. So I am going Bijan Robinson to pair with Tyreek Hill. And then that follows Dalvin Cook, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and now Chris is on the board. Once again, he got Justin Jefferson,
Here's 6 more
who
minutes.
I do think will be wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. If you guys want to take that to heart, I think that Jefferson will be receiver 1. So if you want to find the rookies, it looks like that they are just ranked a little low. I don't think Sleepers updated them for a redraft league. Take that with a grain of salt as we're drafting this. So it might be a little inaccurate, but just know that that's where we're drafting at. Chris is looking
so I'm gonna go running back here. I'm gonna pair it up with like you said, Mark, probably the number 1 wide receiver here. And I don't think I'm gonna get another decent running back when it comes back around to me in the 3rd round. So I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs here.
I think it's a solid pick. I think he's obviously on a franchise tag year, so he is playing for a contract essentially. So circling back, it went Jalen Waddle, Amon St. Brown from the Lions, and Najee Harris round 2, followed by Breece Hall. So the first bot chose 3 running backs, McCaffrey, Harris, Hall. And then team 2 went T. Higgins. Team 3 went Mark Andrews. Second tight end went 3rd round. Chris is back on the board. Doc, I like what you did right there with Saquon and Adams. Saquon definitely proved if he's healthy, he's a stud.
Oh, he's still putting up numbers.
It's a steal right there. I definitely think that we overestimated that one last year. At least I did because I was afraid to touch him. And if you had him last year, he got you to the playoffs. He definitely was. He kind of disappeared a little bit at the end of the year, but definitely worth it. The Giants, I think, are finding their way, so it will be there. Chris is looking at all the players. It looks like he's hovering over Kenneth Walker from Seattle.
Looks like he's looking at other sports.
He went Kenneth Walker, who was a steal last year. Followed by that, it was Keenan Allen, Travis Etienne, Deebo Samuel, the 4th quarterback, which is the 3rd round, Joe Slants, Joe Burrow in the 8th pick of that round. I'm on the clock with the 9th pick in the 3rd round. And I'm going to go Devontae Smith out of Philadelphia to pair with Tyreek Hill and Bijan Robinson. Hook 'em horns, baby. Hook 'em horns. After that, it was DK Metcalf, followed by Joe Mixon. Interesting pick. You got to watch Joe. He's got some legal charges going on. Doc's on the board right now. Like I said, he's got Devontae Adams and Saquon Barkley. Chris, how you feel about your draft right now with Jefferson, Jacobs, and Kenneth Walker?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I got top wide receiver and I got 2 decent running backs that are both going to be the starting running back, not really in a committee. So I'm feeling pretty solid here.
And Doc went tight end, the first one out of us. He went George Kittle from the 49ers. Not sure the quarterback is going to be throwing the ball. When Brock was in, they targeted him a lot more. When Jimmy was there, and we didn't see Trey Lance much. Jimmy G didn't really target George Kittle nearly as much. So if Brock's in there, that's actually a good spot for tight end. Like I said, tight ends kind of are very important in my mind with the league, just because they're hard to find. I mean, outside Kelsey, it's hard. Doc then went Tony Pollard's coming off an ACL, and then Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift. I'm on the clock, and I am looking at tight end. I see T.J. Hawkinson, who balled out with Kirk Chains out there in Minnesota. I am going to go T.J. Hawkinson out of Minnesota. I'm going to take a tight end. That was followed by Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Stevenson from the Patriots. Doc, you confident with that Tony Pollard pick?
I am. I think getting rid of Zeke kind of solidified his role in Dallas. I think he's still got a lot of up and up for him. Ceiling still high. I like it. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I think that if he can come back from injury, I think he'll be the main back. I think Deuce Vaughn's going to get that running back 2 spot. At least over time, he'll get it. And Paulo looked like a beast out there when he played, and hopefully he can recover. I mean, I love watching the kid play. Chris is on the clock, and he's looking. He's going DeAndre Hopkins from the Cardinals. No Kyler Murray, so that just means the GOAT Colt McCoy from Texas is going to be slinging the rock until Murray can get back. That was followed by Lamar Jackson, Herbert, AK. Once again, that's an interesting pick for you guys out there. We don't know if he's going to be suspended 6 games this year or if he's going to play right away. Michael Pittman followed that. Chris Olave, Javonte Williams, those are the top 3. Chris went the old rival Dirty Birds. Kyle Pitts returning from an injury. Desmond Ridder did throw the ball a lot more than Mariota, so maybe that might be worth it. That was followed by Mike Evans, James Conner, Terry McLaurin, and Calvin Ridley. Chris, what do you think about Kyle Pitts this year for the Atlanta Falcons with Desmond Ridder as the quarterback?
I mean, he's one of the outstanding tight ends. He's an absolute freak at the tight end position, so he's going to need some feeding, and I think he's going to get it from Ridder.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. And I went Tyler Lockett, so this is kind of where I was a little shaky. I do have Devontae Smith and Tyreek Hill, so I went Lockett in my flex. Pretty prepared in Dynasty League. You might not get Tyler Lockett this high. He might fall a little lower because of his age. Followed by that was Jerry Jeudy and J.K. Dobbins. I don't think Doc was happy that I chose Tyler Lockett there. Kind of made a little groan, a little moan there. Doc, you pissed that I chose Tyler Lockett?
I was eyeballing him.
Yeah.
Week.
Great GMs think alike. Too bad you're pick 12, buddy, and you're not going to give the fuck you want. So sorry about it. Yeah.
Too bad you can suck my. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin. Fuck it.
And this is also for you fans out there. This is kind of a test run. We're trying to prepare for like how we're going to do the draft because we are going to do our redraft and potentially our Dynasty League as well on live. That might be a longer episode, but kind of have to be able to talk through this because we don't want dead space. We don't want dead air. Doc chose
I'm
Chris
glad
Godwin.
that had to be explained.
Yeah, I mean, just because I'm rambling off, and but I thought about Chris Godwin as well, but I'm not confident in Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. I think both players are just absolute shit. I'm not a Baker fan, and I mean Kyle Trask is unknown just because he hasn't had a chance to start because Tom Brady was there for the 3 years he was there. Doc's still on the clock. He loves to waste his time in mock drafts. If you guys haven't caught that eye, me and Chris call him out all the time in the Dynasty League. Chris, what do you think about Chris Godwin this year?
I don't know. I'm staying away from most of the Tampa Bay receivers. There's a lot of mouths there. There's a lot of mouths there to feed, and I don't trust Baker, and I don't trust Trask to feed them.
Yeah, interesting enough, I'm looking at the quarterbacks right here, and it looks like Kyler Murray's still in the top 100. I mean, he might only miss a couple months, so maybe he can push you to that championship and a steal. But I'm going to go right here with the first quarterback off my board. For me, I'm going to go Justin Fields. I got him in the 6th round, so, I mean, I think that's a good spot for him. I have my 3 receivers. Maybe I need to invest in a running back next pick. But followed by that is Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, who I'm not sold on. Christian Kirk and Mike Williams. Doc, you think Cam Akers this year could have a bounce-back year, or is the backup going to maybe potentially steal a spot?
Well, the potential for the backup stealing the spot is always a real possibility in the NFL. I mean, running backs really, you get them for pretty much a rookie contract, and that's all. I mean, if they even make it through as a starter for the entire rookie contract. But I think it can be a bounce back year for Cam Akers for sure. I still like the guy. I think he's got a lot of upside, but do they move him aside to avoid paying him and go with the rookie? I mean, absolutely they could.
I mean, I honestly think that the Rams are a mess, and I honestly don't even know if I trust Cooper Kupp this year. I don't trust only because of Stafford. I don't trust Stafford to be healthy. And Chris, you got 3 seconds, buddy. He went Christian Watson now, who's going to be Jordan Love throwing the rock. I hope Chris does this. I won't be telling him he's got 3 seconds on a real draft, but followed by Christian Watson, Brandon Ayuk, Darren Waller, and Zeke ending that 6th round. Starting the 7th round, you have Dameon Pierce, Isaiah Pacheco, and David Montgomery. Now Chris is on the clock, so those running backs. That's that situation I'm in, boys. Where I'm in a running back spot and they're falling. So I'm going to probably have a running back 2. Hopefully, he's going to be a steal. If this is the way the draft would go, I would have to find that running back that I would need. Chris with AJ Dillon, Cortland Sutton went next after that. Deontay Johnson, followed by Hollywood Brown and Evan Ingram. So I'm on the clock here, and yeah, I just think that This is gonna be a shocker, but I'm going 2 rookie running backs. I'm gonna go Jahmyr Gibbs out of the Detroit Lions. So I have 2 rookie running backs. I have Bijan and Gibbs, so I'm trusting that those young core. Dak followed me in the 7th round, pick 10. Pat Freiermuth went pick 11, and then Doc's on the clock. Doc, you think Sunshine, old Trevor Lawrence, is gonna ball up this year?
Old T-Law.
I like it. I think he's going to make some moves. He's going to make some waves. Trevor Lawrence, my guy for the year.
Oh, with Michael Thomas. That's a really interesting pick, Doc. Just letting you know, it's a fucking dumb one because the man's not going to play this year. He's going to get hurt somewhere around the first 3 weeks. So, hey, you could draft him all you want.
You know how many fucking people on this board are going to get hurt the first 3 weeks? Has anybody taken Lamar the injury Jackson yet? If the guy makes it past week 8, I'll be shocked.
I usually give Lamar 12 weeks. It's usually the last 4 or 5 that he gets hurt. Doc's back on the clock now, starting round 8, first pick. Looking at Doc's squad, he's got Davante Adams, Saquon, George Kittle, Tony Pollard, Chris Godwin, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Thomas. I definitely think Doc drafts a lot better for the redraft league than the old Dynasty League that we've drafted with him. So, Doc, you actually might win that title belt this year if you draft like this. The key, boys, is to talk while Doc's picking because he gets distracted. Maybe the time
gets a little confused.
Next pick. Yeah, he's only got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds left. Doc, you're on the clock, dude. Come on.
I know. I'm working on it here.
Dalton Schultz, James Cook, Brandon Cooks, back on the clock. Dude, I'm
just remember somebody. You want to make a comment about Michael Thomas getting hurt. Just remember somebody is going to take Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, just remember that is going to happen.
And I think that. I mean, so this is interesting. So in redraft league, we only have it's 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a flex. So it's not like the Dynasty League where we have so many starting players. I'm already kind of loaded on receivers. I have 3 of them. I only have the 2 running backs, so I kind of have to go running back here, and I'm going to go Brian Robinson out of the Washington Commanders out there, and then Rachaad White followed, Gabe Davis, Juju, who I was potentially going to draft, but I needed a running back. Old playoff Lenny went right before Chris. Maybe he gets picked up. So Zeke and Lenny's been picked up, and they're on a team right now. But you expect them to maybe reach a roster before preseason. Do you think so, Doc?
Say that one more time.
You think Lenny and Zeke will make a team before the preseason?
I think Zeke will find a home, yeah. I think Leonard Fournette, as long as the anger is in check and he can manage to stay in ball games and not get suspended, I think he's got a chance to find a team. But I think Zeke will find something. It's whether or not he's willing to take the pay cut.
And then Chris went George Pickens, stud rookie last year. He's got some phenomenal hands out of Georgia, followed by Treylon Burks, Antonio Gibson, and Tua wrapped up round 8. I think it's a good spot for him. I mean, it's not really high of a risk. Starting round 9, Kadarius Toney went, followed by Tyler Algier, Rashad Bateman. I'm excited to see Tyler Algier. I know I drafted Bijan, but they're going to run that 1-2 punch out there. Algier was a 1,000-yard rusher. Chris, you think Algier's still going to get some love, or do you think it's going to be mainly Bijan?
I think it's going to be mainly Bijan. That man's a 3-down back right there.
Yeah, I mean, Texas, that man was a freak for sure. And so after Chris chose Jamal Williams, his New Orleans State backup running back, it went Kyler Murray. So Team 5, that's their first quarterback. So they're going to probably draft another quarterback. And then David Njoku went, Khalil Herbert, Darrell Mooney. Now I'm on the clock in the 9th pick of the 9th round. I'm looking here, and I'm going to go Adam Thielen. I think that he's receiver 1 for Carolina. I think he can still produce a little bit. He's going to be on my bench most of the year anyway, so it's more of just a depth pick. Followed by Elijah Mitchell, the backup to Chris McCaffrey. Dawson Knox playing in a 2 tight end system with Dalton Kincaid. Went before Kincaid in this draft, and now Doc's on the clock. Chris, looking at your roster, dude, I mean, you got Justin Jefferson. You went Josh Jacobs, Walker, Hopkins, Kyle Pitts, Christian Watson, so a young receiver there with Jordan Love, A.J. Dillon, George Pickens, Jamal Williams. You confident with this team if this was actually your squad?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty confident with this team. Right now I'm going to be eyeing some quarterback right here. Got my eyes on, hopefully, A-Rod drops to me. And it's looking like most of the teams in front of me all have quarterbacks, so he might fall to me in this 10th round.
Yeah, and I think in a redraft league, it's still interesting, you Doc, to get some depth, like maybe 2 quarterbacks before someone else can too, because you can use it as a trade piece, and you get some players out of it as well. It's definitely you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You went with the rookie Quentin Johnston out of the Chargers, TCU stud last year. He's definitely paired there with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Oh, he went with the old Deshaun Watson pick. I was definitely eyeing him with my backup, followed by the rookie Carbonnet from UCLA. Cole Kmet went the next pick. So I'm kind of going to stay away from a quarterback. No, I'm actually going to draft Aaron Rodgers.
Oof.
Not because Chris said it, but because Aaron Rodgers is a backup to Justin Fields. That's a matchup game. I could play Aaron Rodgers in certain games, play Justin Fields in certain games. Obviously, A-Rod still, I think, is going to produce a little bit. He's not going to be my starter. Followed by Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Jackson Smith, Njigba, Alexander Madison. Chris went the other Jamal Williams from the Lions, who he spent the first 6 games. Followed by Dotson from the Commanders, Elijah Moore, Bryce Young in it, the 10th round. So rookie quarterback, Bryce Young, 10th round. Zach Ertz started the 11th round. Rashad Penny in the 11th. Damian Harris, the 3rd pick of the 11th round. Doc, would you like Deshaun Watson as a backup, or do you think you actually might start him more?
It's going to depend. I think Houston's I think Cleveland's finally got a quarterback. I think that Cleveland has had weapons for quite a few years now, and I think the quarterback coming in, I think that he might be able to step up and take the starting spot on two girls, one cup.
Yeah, definitely. And then Chris chose the rookie Zay Flowers out of Boston College with Lamar Jackson.
Good pick.
Followed by Cordell Patterson, who I think is going to take a hit this year just because of Algier and Bijan, who was drafted high. Trey Lance, followed by that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Honestly, I think that's a worthless pick. Allen Lazard, team pick 8, something I would have looked at, but I'm already kind of receiver deep here. I have 4 receivers, and I do have 3 running backs. I have 2 rookies and a second-year player, so I have some young guns. But I do think that I am going to draft Roschon Johnson. I think that he has a chance to take that spot for the Chicago Bears by the end of the year. That was followed by Devin Singletary and then Kareem Hunt, who's a free agent as well. Doc, you think Roschon Johnson, Texas running back, can take that spot from old Deontay Foreman, another Texas running back as well?
No, absolutely not. Khalil Herbert's got that shit locked down and ain't going to change.
Yeah, you never know. He might snap that leg. So, Chris, the Texas running backs, I have both of them on my squad.
Another rookie.
You like it?
Yeah, I mean, once we're hitting these lower draft picks, you're just kind of throwing a dart at the board and hoping the shit sticks. So, I mean, drafting rookies is a nice little go-around.
Yeah, in this draft, we also have kickers and kickers and defense as well. So, something that normally goes a little later. Definitely, like Chris said, you kind of, towards these later rounds in a redraft league, it's kind of, hopefully you take a steal right there to hopefully get you over the top. Doc chose the rookie running back out of Miami.
First defense and kicker.
Yeah. The first kicker and defense went, like Chris said. The 49ers kicker went after Doc's pick, followed by Evan McPherson. Surprised it wasn't Justin Tucker. I do think that a defense is more important in a fantasy league than a kicker because, I don't
know, man, because a kicker can lose you a game. Kicker can lose you a game pretty quick.
Ask Riz.
So can a defense. Well, speaking of that defense, I'm going to go Dallas defense. I'm going to take the second defense off the board. How about them Cowboys, America's team? Doc, I know that's your second team. You excited for the Cowboys this year?
I am excited for the Eagles to take the division again. Not that I'm an Eagles fan by any means, but fuck them boys.
So after the Cowboys defense went Patriots defense, Eagles defense, Bills defense. So we had a run on a defense there. Justin Tucker was off the board right before Chris. I'm pretty sure Chris would have taken Justin Tucker's.
Is that Tyler Bass or Tyler Bass?
Jesus Christ! Whoa! Don't ask the Chief that. AR. Chris chose his running. Is that his first quarterback off the board, Chris, for you?
First quarterback. I'm going to take the.
And he went Richards. See, don't talk to me about dumb picks ever again. My man took
Hey.
Richardson for his number one. I would have taken Danny Jones.
But like we said, a quarterback can win you. You can find a quarterback later in the draft and get that depth positions for the position players.
No, Richardson
So, I
did.
mean,
No, Richardson.
It's a redraft league, so I mean, it could be it. He's going to be the starter. Looks like from day one.
I would have
Maybe
taken
guard
C.J.
next week,
Stroud.
but Alwood Robinson was after that. Michael Mayer, the rookie tight end out of the Raiders, followed by the Jets defense to end round 12. Hunter Renfrow started round 13. Tyler Bass, Daniel Carlson, Chris went OBJ, Daniel Jones,
Myers.
Bucker, Dolchich from the Broncos, Jacoby Myers. Now I'm back on the clock as well. I already have 2 quarterbacks. I already have some depth there. I do need a backup tight end, and I don't think he's going to be there in the ESPN league. But if I can get him there, I'm going to get Dalton Kincaid in round 13 to back
I think it's a good move.
to back up my tight end, which I drafted T.J. Hawkinson. So, but Kincaid could be a trade piece because I'm pretty sure Hawkinson is going to be my starter pretty much all year long. Followed by that was C.J. Stroud, Geno Smith, Doc Witt, Ravens defense. So he's got his defense. Usually a solid defense, honestly, Chris. That's what Baltimore's known for, right?
Yeah, they have that. They have that defense. It's surprising to see Baltimore drop. I mean, you got the Patriots that went ahead of them, the Jets that went ahead of them. I mean, you got Sauce Gardner on the Jets, so you got that interception monster to get you points.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the Ravens are always usually an underrated fantasy defense. I've experienced that just because I've had them so much. Doc went Tyler Boyd, followed by Brandon McManus. Tampa Bay Bucks defense. I'm on the clock, and you know what? I normally don't draft my team that much. This will be my second player. I'm going Young Wei Hoku out of the Atlanta Falcons. Man's a goat.
I almost took him. Because when I was looking at it and I'm looking at the offense for the Atlanta Falcons, I'm like, this is a kicker that's going to get most of the points for the offense. I almost did it, but I saw Tyler Boyd, and I like Tyler Boyd for a 14th round.
He's one of the better kickers in the league. Yeah, so with that being said, we have our league's 15 rounds. You have 6 bench players, 9 starters. It used to be 7 bench players, but I took one away. I made it way more challenging, way more strategic. Also gives a chance for free agency as well, something that we're not going to experience there. After that, it went the Titans tight end, Sam P. Ryan, Mostert, the Rams defense, Chris went Nick Folk, Jared Goff, Sky Moore, Gerald Everett, Matt Gay, kicker, Chargers defense, Dolphins defense, Saints defense, which was Chris's pick. By the way, guys, he normally drafts Saints defense in there. Mike Gesicki, Jalen Hyatt, which if he was there when I would have gone there, I would have picked him. And then followed by Matt Prater, Jacoby Myers, and my last pick of this draft. Honestly, I'm going to go Sam Laporta. I'm going to carry 3 tight ends this year. Iowa tight end for the Detroit Lions. Chris, how do you feel about your mock draft?
I'm feeling pretty good. A little iffy about my quarterback with AR, but we can always look at the waiver wire if he doesn't pan out to be the Lamar Jr.
Exactly. And then after my pick, it was Peoples-Jones, Zay Jones, and then Doc got his kicker, Greg the Leg Zerline, out of the Jets team that will probably be scoring a lot. Doc, you like your team? I know it's a mock draft, but
not thrilled. Not thrilled. Let me just put it that way.
yeah, I mean, I like my starters, maybe not so much my bench, but that's usually where I feel not as
A lot
confident.
of
with my bench.
rookies.
Yeah, so this is kind of how the draft went on Sleeper. Like I said, hopefully Sleeper updates it because I don't think a lot of these rookies are going to be ranked so low. So like I said, keep tuned. We're going to do a lot more fantasy mock drafts down the line. We're also going to do some rankings. But let's move on, boys, and let's talk a little basketball. Let's start with the Western Conference because I want to end on a high note for my team. The Denver Nuggets up 2-0 over the Los Angeles Lakers. You guys called the Nuggets winning the series. I went on the underdog side, went Lakers. Joker took game 1 over with Jamal Murray as well, 132-126. No defense, all offense. This game was a little more defense. Jamal Murray scored 23 points in the fourth quarter. The Lakers blew 11-point lead. They lost 108-103. Chris, you surprised that it's not 1-1, or you kind of expected that it's 2-0 right now going back to LA?
I'm kind of surprised it's not 1-1 right now, but not the 2-0. I'm loving it. I mean, all we said last game was that AD had to step up for the Lakers to win, and that proved wrong. AD stepped up huge in the game one, scored a game high of 40 points, but the Joker was just on him. So
Yeah, even though the Joker, like you said, the Joker was on fire.
Yeah.
Love to see
Even though
it.
he had a quiet fourth quarter, Doc, do you expect the Lakers to get both these games back at home, or do you think it ends in 4, or what do you look at?
No, I'm hopeful that the series ends in 3. I hope Game 3 is just such a blowout that the Lakers, the NBA is like, look, LA, just Denver's just going to move on to the next one. Fuck LeBron. I'm still I'm still Nuggets in 5 most, 5 at most.
Yeah, like I said,
I think the Lakers got lucky,
but
but they're running out of juice.
I did say that I thought it might have been a home series, so every team wins at home, and then the Lakers could have potentially won Game 7 in the road. But after this, they adjusted well in the fourth quarter, came back, and they started playing well the first 3 quarters, and then they blew the game. Like I said, they were up 11, and they allowed Jamal Murray, who's very underrated in my opinion, to score 23 in the fourth. So I'm not looking so right in that pick. I definitely swaying towards Denver. Obviously, if you're up 2-0, I mean, you should win the series. It doesn't matter if you're the home team or the road team. You should definitely close out. I do think you guys are probably going to be right now. And also moving on to me, I kind of not as high in the series. The Lakers and Nuggets, just not as interested right now, but interested in the Miami Heat. Up 1-0, boys. Took Game 1 in the Garden. Jimmy Butler drops 35, 7, and 5. Carries Miami. What's new? Bam Bam had a big game. Our bench is looking good. Max Strus had a big third quarter. In our 46-point quarter, Miami set their highest points scored in a quarter. Doc, are you expected of this? Do you expect Jimmy Butler to put everything on his shoulders, carry us to will? He did say that we're going to be back this year. He did promise that, and that's where we're at. We're back right now. He has to win that series to fulfill that promise. You think that is Jimmy Butler a bust?
No, I don't think he's a bust. I mean, I fully expected Jimmy to have to put the game on his shoulders, put the team on his shoulders. I mean, that's the kind of mentality and the kind of player that he is, and with what's surrounding him in Miami. Not that Miami's a shit team by any means, but good on him for being able to do that. I am surprised that Miami took Game 1 in the Garden, but plenty of series left.
Yeah, definitely Game 1's always a feel-out game in every series. So maybe Boston adjust. They did struggle to get Jason Tatum going in the second half. He, for a while, only had 5 shots. The last, 5 minutes, it seemed like he was barely touching the ball in possessions. Chris, do you think that Jason Tatum and that Boston coaching staff has to get him going, get him the ball, or you think they should just do what they're doing and it's every other game somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, we saw with last series that Tatum was the key to win for the Celtics. I mean, going to halftime, Boston looked in control. They controlled the paint. They took care of the ball. They made the shots they needed to make. And then after half, the game just turned upside down on their head. I mean, the Heat outscored the Celtics 46-25 in the second half. The combination of the Celtics defense failing in the third and then their offense just not stepping in the fourth is really what did the Celtics in.
Yeah, and it seems like Boston lost a little of that defensive mindset when their coach got fired after they took him to the finals. He was more of a defensive coach. This coach is more scoring points. And, I'm just excited. I think that if we could take Game 2 going back to South Beach, I think the series is definitely over. I think if a road team's up 2-0, that's a lot more confident than a home team being up 2-0. I mean, both arenas are pretty hard to play in. The crowds are ruckus there. Miami's the time. Obviously, the Garden, we know how Boston, their fans are. They're wild. They're rowdy. And speaking of wild and rowdy, Doc, we touched on it. Doc Rivers got fired. Right after we covered that episode, literally the day after, man got fired. We both said he's overrated. You think if Phillies is a mess? You think that they're still going to compete in the Eastern Conference? What's Philly doing?
No, they're still going to compete. They still got a squad. I think that they just need a guy that can execute late in the series. I think they need to bring in the guy from Milwaukee and see what he can do. See what he can do in Philly.
And Chris, they said a driving force potentially could have been James Harden was the reason he got fired. Do you think that James Harden, because there's been rumors he might go back to Houston, he's going to test free agency. You think it was James Harden, and you think James Harden stays?
No, I mean, it might have been James Harden in the ear of somebody. I think James Harden stays for another year at least. I mean, if I was a coach, I'd be scared to lose any of these playoff games. It seems like any coach that lost a series this year got fired right after. So, I mean, teams are cutthroat these days. If you're not
Helps
winning,
when you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're not winning, you're out.
Yeah, and I'm just not a big James Harden fan in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, the man disappears, but Philly is a good team from the beyond if he wants to try and win. But I just don't see Philly getting over the hump. I just don't believe in the team they have. And let's end the show with a bang. Ja Morant caught on Instagram Live. This time, not his Instagram Live, his buddy's Instagram Live, who was a guy that got banned from the Memphis Grizzlies games after having altercations with the Indiana Pacers traveling team. Caught Ja Morant on Instagram Live waving a gun in the car. Obviously, I don't know which state it was. Don't know the laws. He's allowed to have it in the car, not in the glove department. Obviously, it's not safe in my mind personally because let's say your buddy hits the brake, right? And you're pointing that gun at you or your friend's on accident. He hits the brakes and your hands on the trigger, or your fingers on the trigger, and you squeeze it. Potentially could kill yourself, could kill somebody else. You could cause the driver to sway over. They get in a car accident. I mean, it's just a bonehead move, especially after 2 months ago when he promised not to do this again. Got 8 games before. Chris, what should the league do with this?
Yeah, I think he should be out. I mean, this man is a complete idiot. You're over here making over $200 million to dribble a basketball. What in your right mind are you doing to think I should flash a gun on Instagram Live? And the Instagram Live only had, like 100 people on there? It wasn't like there was thousands of people watching this man. Like,
I mean, it only takes one person. It takes one person on Instagram Live to screen record it, screenshot it, anything, and that's what happened. Doc, Powerade Nike stood by him last time. Do you think the sponsors are going to wait for the suspension? What do you think they're going to do, like Powerade Nike especially?
I mean, if it's up to me, I'm dropping it. This is a guy that, when they came out with the suspension too, it wasn't just a legal thing. It was the fact that you are a face of the NBA. You are a guy that is impressionable or a role model to impressionable young minds. And they made that very clear that you cannot conduct yourself in that manner for these kids that are looking up to you to play ball. So I think that the NBA needs to come out with a much stiffer punishment. I'm thinking, I mean, if you want to curb the image and put a stop to the nonsense, 25 games minimum. I'd like to see half a season. I'd like to see half a season unpaid. Really take that money, hurt them. The sponsorships will drop them. Really make it a point, drive it home that this is unacceptable behavior. Not to mention, you had the first one, and it didn't take you long to get the second strike.
Well, you get 3 strikes and you're out, Doc. That's the old baseball term.
That's what I'm saying. So, but, this wasn't like it was years later. We're talking weeks later, months later. You got caught right back up in the same shit. If I'm commissioner of the NBA, you just slapped me in the face and told me that it didn't matter what we did. You don't take us seriously. It's time to come down with the hammer. Half a season is what I'd like to see. Let them pay for it.
I do believe, though, Doc, the first instance, most clubs and bars, you're not allowed to have a gun. Obviously, it's based on the business as well. Even if you have an open carry or concealed carry, whatever, you still can't. It's a business.
It's still policy. Waving it around. Yeah, but I think that
is the legal part. If he's at the club doing it, that's illegal. I mean, or it's breaking the law. Or
no. I'm not saying that there was no legal, but there was more that was talked about with it than just the legal side with the NBA.
Yeah, and speaking of this, the commissioner, if this was David Stern, rest in peace, rest in peace his soul. He, like Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless said on their show, that man wasn't a guy like Adam Silver, who Adam Silver is more of a players commissioner, which the NBA does run the league out of all the leagues. But David Stern, man, that man might have been gone for a whole year because if you crossed him more than once and you promised him.
Oh, David Stern didn't play.
Oh, David Stern, yeah, he was hardball. And Adam Silver, I mean, I get it. He likes to see both sides. I felt like he's done a good job as commissioner, but he's more of a people's commissioner. But man, I'm telling you, if I was commissioner and you lied to me and you said, hey, blah, blah, this, I'm going to change. I don't know, man. I don't know how I could let that go.
Yeah, change so well.
People are saying rehabilitation. I don't think he needs rehab. I don't think it's a mental illness this man has. I think he's just being immature. and stupid. I don't think he's sick in the head. I don't think
He
he's
feels
even a bad
invisible.
guy.
No, he
Yeah,
just feels
he just-
invisible. He thinks that he's above everybody else, and he thinks the rules don't apply to him, and he can get away with whatever he wants because he's a professional basketball player, and it's time to show him that's not the case.
And like all these athletes, former athletes have said on TV, if you're going to do it, don't go on fucking IG Live. Just do it in your own privacy. It's
Or
that
just
simple,
don't
right,
do it.
Chris?
Just don't do it. What do
that
you need to
too.
do it for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, like Chris, you think like honestly, he should just if he's going to do it, just don't put it in the public eye where we
That's
can
like
all
saying
see it.
don't drink and drive. Just don't put it on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Drink and drive without telling anybody. Just don't put it on Instagram. No, just don't do the shit. It's dangerous. It's stupid. You're being a knucklehead. Cut it out.
I mean, what really are you benefiting or gaining from flashing a gun, jamming out
Exactly.
music?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like I said. I
Now,
said
you showing
what I
some
had to say.
titties. That's one thing.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I do think though, like I said, it's a safety thing. It's just God forbid something happens, your driver accidentally brake checks, accidentally does something, swerves, and your finger's on the trigger. You might freak out because you get nervous because you think you're in a car accident and you shoot it, and that's just a whole another instance that you don't want to go down. You don't want to go down that road of, you accidentally killed yourself, you accidentally killed the driver, someone in the back seat because you were acting immature with a gun. I mean, we teach gun laws and gun safety and how like this country is and all that. I don't want to get into that whole dynamic, but honestly, you want to teach it and say it out loud, but then you don't want to do that as well. You don't want to condone what you're saying. So, I mean, it's just a big issue. You need to be safe, especially with that kind of things. Guns aren't something you want to fuck around with, it, especially in a car. And something, God forbid, can happen. You get other people hurt. Just a bonehead move. Immaturity. He comes from what seems a good family, so he knows better. He's just, like you said, Doc, he's choosing not to do the right thing.
Yep.
And with
Teach
that
him a
being
lesson.
said, boys, yeah, teach him a lesson. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. We'll definitely address that. Chris, great to hear your voice, man. Great to do this mock draft with you. It went a little longer than we thought. I mean, I didn't think the mock draft's going to go that long. Can't wait to do more of this. Wait to do some more fantasy rankings, talk basketball, talk football. Great to hear your voice, my friend.
Yeah, no, love to be here in the Sack House. Love to be talking balls with you boys. I'm grateful.
Yeah. Doc, speaking of balls, I'm glad that you brought some good ball talk today, and great to hear your voice as always. Can't wait to hear it again on Monday evening when we go live with our next episode.
Oh, yeah. Always a pleasure to be here, Mark. Love you guys. Love the Sack House. Love Sack Nation. Can't wait for the next one.
Yep, and love it as always. I love what I'm doing. I love it. It's just a big passion. Sports is everything to me. My daughter in sports, dude. That's all I can ask for in life. And I'm Mark Davis. That is Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. That is Kriska Meinhardt. We are All About the Balls podcast. We are always in the Sack House. And as we like to end the show, we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.